Good morning, everyone, and you're very welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, I just want to say that this webinar is being recorded and we will send everyone an email later today with a link to the recording of the webinar and a copy of the presentation slides. So first of all, I want to introduce ourselves. My name is Rachel Hines and I'm the Marketing Manager here at BrightPay. I am delighted to be joined by Tom Kelly from Modulr for today's webinar. Tom is the strategic lead for Modulr's commitment to creating simple, secure, and reliable payment capabilities for SMEs and their accountants. And I'll be passing over the reins to Tom, who is going to be presenting most of today's webinar. And we do also have BrightPay's Managing Director, Paul Byrne, on with us in the background as well. And Paul is going to join us for the questions and answers at the end of today's webinar. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box on your control panel at the side of the screen, and we will try to get through as many questions as possible. So to start off today, I want to look at why BrightPay have decided to partner with Modulr. Here at BrightPay, a lot of what we do and a lot of the features that we introduce are about making your life easier. With BrightPay's integration with accounting software and the batch payroll processing, and even how BrightPay caters for the likes of auto-enrollment, we do try to make it as easy as possible for BrightPay users so that you can save time on payroll processes. And you can clearly see this coming through in our new partnership with Modulr. I know Tom is going to look at the functionality and the benefits in much more detail, but I want to give you a quick introduction to what this functionality actually does. Payroll software is used to calculate employees' wages, deduct the right tax and pensions, and communicate this information with HMRC. You can also issue payslips to employees and create bank files to make the payments to employees. However, before now, when actually making that payment to the employees, it was a very manual process with lots of steps involved. And this is where our new integration with Modulr comes in. Instead of creating bank files, you can choose a new option to Pay by Modulr, giving you a fast, secure, and easy way to pay employees and subcontractors through BrightPay. For now, I'm going to leave it at that, as I don't want to cover too much of what Tom wants to go through. So I'm going to pass you over to Tom, and he's going to explain who Modulr are and the benefits of this new feature.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning. So firstly, I wanted to cover who Modulr are. So Modulr is a payments as a service platform, and our focus is on automating end-to-end payment flows and enabling our partners such as BrightPay to embed payment functionality into their software. And that's to create an efficient customer journey that removes the manual processes that we often see when handling payments traditionally. And a little bit about our credentials. And we really pride ourselves on our performance. And as you can see here, 99% of all of our outbound faster payments are received by the beneficiary within 90 seconds of the payment being remitted. And that offers a massive benefit against the traditional BACS payments that you may be familiar with or using today. And I'll go on to talk a little bit more about the differences between faster payments and BACS later in the session. Modulr is also regulated as an e-money institution by the FCA, which means that all funds that are held for your clients or yourselves are ring-fenced and protected. Since we started providing these types of solutions, we processed over 70 million payments that account for over £50 billion worth of transactions processed. So why Modulr for you as an employer or as an accountant or bureau? As Rachel just discussed, payroll and payment workflows can be a headache, and some of the challenges that you'll be experiencing today are very focused on the manual processes that you'll be undertaking. So that the BrightPay solution provides you with an efficient payroll solution, but actually making the payments has always been a disjointed process. And that's where the pain points and the potential for errors can really kick in. And if you're providing this as a service to your clients, then you need to be able to provide a premium service every time you do a payroll, as we know that a costly mistake as a result of getting that wrong can cause damage to your reputation. And having a process that is efficient and generic across all of your clients enables you to reduce your overheads and keep costs down as you start to take on more clients or as you get bigger clients. So what are the benefits to an integrated payment solution with BrightPay? It's going to save you time and maximize the efficiency, removing errors and automating the whole workflow from end to end, and having a solution that will provide real-time 24/7 payments and not be restricted to traditional banking hours. The network is secure and compliant with all regulatory requirements. And it helps you to provide a seamless client experience, which we'll go on to show you later through our demonstration. And having real-time data within the payment platform enables you to have better insights into your customers' cash flow positions. So I'm now going to provide you with an overview of how the solution works and how it works alongside the BrightPay software. The design of this is to not change what you already do. So you would run your payroll as normal within BrightPay. Then the approvers that have been set up for making the payments will receive a daily notification advising them of any payments that are awaiting approval. The approver needs to make sure that there are sufficient funds in the account to manage the payroll due, and that account can be topped up from any UK bank using faster payments, BACS or CHAPS in Wood. Once the payments and the funds are received and the approver makes those approvals, then the payments can be remitted. These can be stored as a future date or can be done instantly. If they're instant payments, then the payments will be received into the beneficiary's account within 90 seconds. And it's a really simple process, which we'll demonstrate shortly. In addition to the services that employers can use, we also have additional functionality for accountants and bureaus. So we provide a payments dashboard that gives you valuable insights across all of your clients that are utilizing the solution, all in one single platform, which means that you don't have to deal with individual banks and different online solutions. This will help to reduce the admin overhead when processing payments for your client base, but also enables the control to still sit with your client if they wish to do the final approval. And we can talk through how that process works individually, but also if the client is happy for the approval to sit with the accountant or the bureau, then they can delegate that permission to the accountant or the bureau to take full client control. I mentioned earlier that all outbound payments on the Modulr platform are by faster payment. The reason we use this is because of the speed of receipt within to the beneficiary account. So all payments will be received within 90 seconds. And by providing this service, we offer 24/7, 365 days a year support. And this compares to the traditional BACS model of 3 days, which means that you have to have bottlenecks. If you wanted payments to be received on a Friday, for example, a full BACS file would need to be processed ahead of Wednesday. With this solution, you can actually make the payments the same day and have them in the accounts within 90 seconds. We have customers that also use this for emergency payments and one-off payments, which can be made at any time and is a much cheaper alternative to expensive CHAPS payments that you may be using today. So we've talked about how the solution works. We're now just going to show you what this looks like within the solution, and Rachel's going to talk through the BrightPay aspects, and then I'll talk you through how the Modulr screen works.
Thanks, Tom. So here we are in the Payroll tab in BrightPay, which you'll all know. And once you've finished processing the payroll and are ready to pay your employees, you can choose the Pay option on the menu bar, followed by Modular. And on this first screen, it gives you an explanation of what this modular integration is. And there is a link here to sign up to Modulr or get more information about Modulr as well. So if I click Continue, you will now be asked to authenticate your Modulr account using Authy. And to do so, you will need to have installed and registered Authy on your smartphone device as part of the setup process. When you receive the notification on your phone, you just need to select Approve, and BrightPay will automatically log you in. If you're an accountant or payroll bureau with multiple clients, you'll need to select the relevant client from the drop-down listing, and when ready, we will click Continue again. On the next screen here, you have the option to select the account that you wish to pay from. You can amend the payment date, edit the employee reference, and you can pick and choose which employees you would like to pay. And when ready, I'll click Continue again. On the final screen, there will be a summary of the payment request. And once happy, simply click Send to Modulr, and you will be asked once again to authenticate this using the Authy app on your smartphone. And confirmation will appear on the screen to let you know that a payment request was successfully sent. And on successful submission to Modulr, the authorized person can log into their Modulr account to approve the payments. And I'll pass you back to Tom again to show you the Modulr side of things.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So at that point, the payments have been submitted out of the BrightPay software and will be received within the Modulr account. So as an approver, as the client, I will be signing in through the website. And as Rachel explained, we use the Authy authentication app just so that I can confirm that I am a registered user. So I'll approve that. And then I'm presented with the Modular Portal. If I have multiple accounts, they will all be displayed on this welcome screen. This will also show the balance of any funds that I have held within my accounts, so I can make sure that I have enough sufficient funds to make the payroll payments that are due. So I can see here that I have 3 approvals, and these are the 3 payments that Rachel has just submitted through the BrightPay software. So I click onto approvals, and I'll see all of the data that was sitting within BrightPay, all the beneficiary details, the payees' names, the date and the amount that is due will all appear within the transaction. I can see that I've got 3 that are all pending my approval, and I'm happy with all 3 of those. They total £937.96 in this example. So I'll go ahead, select them all, and approve. If there was a problem with one of those transactions, then I could not approve that and reject them, and the payment would not be made. So I click approve in this case. I get a confirmation that tells me that I'm going to approve 3 payments totaling £937.96. I'll click approve, and then I'll be positioned with an authentication request. It's confirming I'm making 3 payments, it's confirming the amount, and the approval is done. Now in this case, Rachel selected that she wanted to make those payments on a future date. So I will see those payments now sitting in my pending payments. And those payments will sit there and wait until the due date. So you can see here that they're dated to send on Friday, the 7th of May. The approval has been made. So there are three categories, criteria that needs to be met before a payment is made. One, it needs to be the due date. Two, it needs to be approved. And three, there have to be sufficient funds to make the payment. So when all that criteria is met, those funds will be remitted automatically on the 7th of May, and I don't need to do any more from a user perspective. So as you can see, it's a very simple solution to use, very efficient in terms of the interaction between the BrightPay solution and the Modular platform. And I want to take you through how the pricing structures work, how we work through the onboarding of customers for both employers and for accountants and bureaus, and also how we provide service and support afterwards.
So yeah, I'm going to take over here again. So here at BrightPay, we pride ourselves on having a clear and transparent pricing structure for the payroll software. And as our BrightPay customers know, we don't believe in complicated pricing structures or unfair selling tactics. All BrightPay licenses include full functionality, and unlike many of our competitors, there are no additional costs or add-ons for customer support or auto-enrollment functionality, CIS, etc. Everything is included in the price of the payroll software. And although the modular integration is included in BrightPay at no extra cost, you will need to pay for a modular account to avail of the direct payments functionality. We are confident in this partnership and that it will improve the payroll workflow for our customers. And that's why BrightPay will not receive any referral fees for this service. And by doing this, it does allow our customers who register with Modulr to avail of it at a highly competitive rate. So I'm going to pass you back to Tom, who's going to explain the Modulr pricing structure.
Thank you, Rachel. So we have two models. One is pricing for employers and also a separate model for accountants and bureaus. So if I just talk through the employers first, which is the table on the right-hand side. So the per transaction fee starts at 25 pence. And based on volume, that can be reduced to as low as 20 pence. So the entry level point is a minimum commitment of £10 a month, and that covers 40 outbound transactions at 25 pence, and all additional transactions will be charged at 25 pence. For high volume users, we offer an advanced package, which has a minimum commitment of £300 a month, which includes 1,500 outbound transactions, and all additional transactions are charged at 20 pence. Now we have a separate model for accountants and bureaus based on the model of providing multiple clients under one interaction. So we have standard, extra, and complete package here. For standard, that is for smaller accountants and bureaus with up to 10 clients. And that is based on 25 pence per transaction, again, with a minimum per client commitment of £5 per month. Once the number of clients goes above 10, then that qualifies for the extra package, which means that you have a commitment of just £2.50 per client per month. And the transaction rate for all additional transactions is 25 pence. So this enables larger accountants and bureaus to offer this to even smaller clients because of the lower minimum commitment. Where an accountant practice or bureau has larger volumes, then we offer our complete package, which is for an unlimited number of clients. and that is based on a monthly minimum commitment of £300, and that brings the price per transaction down to 20 pence. Hopefully that is quite a simple pricing approach that's easy to understand, but if you do have any questions, we can cover those off towards the end. So how do you get started with setting up your account? So we have two processes, one for accountants and bureaus and one for employers directly. So firstly, looking at accountants and bureaus, it's a simple online process. You would register your practice online through a link that's provided through the BrightPay or the Modulr website. You'll be asked to provide basic information around the practice, submit that through, and Modulr will review your application. And once those reviews are complete, we will send you a welcome email confirming that your account has been set up and your access to our payment dashboard. Once you have that, you'll also have viewing rights to see what we reference as your delegate ID. And that is the reference that you would provide to your clients so that they can delegate authority from their accounts for your use. That reference is passed to your clients for when they onboard, and then by doing that, they can automatically connect their accounts to the account of the accountants and bureau, and they will start to appear within the payment dashboard as described earlier. For individual employers, similar process. You will follow the online application form, providing information relating to the business and basic identification information around directors and UBOs. Modulr will review the online application, and then we'll send you a welcome email with your login details and also instructions on how to download the Authentication app that we described during the demo. Once that's completed, you'll be able to log into your portal and start using the Modulr system straight away. In terms of support, we offer 24 hours, 7 days a week support through our UK-based customer support area. We also provide a dedicated practice enablement manager for accountants and bureaus, and that's to help you with onboarding your client base. We also have marketing consultancy support, training activity, and a resource portal that has all of the resources available to help you to market this product to your client base and answer any frequently asked questions and provide guidance for usage of the tool. So hopefully that provides a great summary of how the service works, the type of support that's available through Modulr, and how it interacts with the BrightPay software. I've put some references up there for you to get further information on the Modulr Finance Small Business website and an email address that comes straight through to my team. I'll hand back to Rachel now for any questions.
Thanks, Tom. So now we have the questions and answers, and we will also be joined by Paul Byrne, who is the Managing Director at BrightPay. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box on your screen, and we will try to get through as many as possible. So I do see a few questions have come through already, and I think the most frequently asked question that's coming in is regarding HMRC payments, and can PAYE payments be set up this way too? So Paul, I'm not sure if you want to take that one.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Good morning, everyone. Yes, that is something that we were going to add in. It's not actually there at this point in time, but I'm aware that the first HMRC payments will be hitting in May. So I've asked my developers to hopefully fast track that particular feature, but they've basically assured me that it's a fairly simple function to add onto the software code. So yeah, that'll be in our next upgrade, hopefully.
Brilliant. So The next question here is, I am a chair of trustees for a small independent church with 2 employees. For all bank transactions, we need 2 signatories. Can we now pay employees using Modulr without a bank file, as Lloyds Bank will not accept bank files on charity accounts?
Okay, I'll pick that one up. Thank you. So we can onboard at the moment registered charities. So that is one of our requirements, but we can provide a special interaction with that particular customer just to walk through the requirements. There may be some additional information that we need to capture around the charity. But in terms of the dual signatory arrangements, we can configure on our platform the approval rights for the people within the charity that are approved to make the payments. So once that's configured, then yes, you could make your payments through the Modular Portal. You would just need to fund the Modular Portal from your existing, I think you said Lloyds Bank accounts there. So they would still need to be a payment coming out of the Lloyds Bank account into the Modular Portal. But we do find that some clients find it easier to set up a standing order if the value of the payroll is a regular amount. So you can automatically have that going through a standing order and not have to worry about the individual payments being made to fund the account each week or each month, however frequently you're doing it.
Great. I do see a separate question coming in there in relation to charities. Someone is asking, are there any discounts for charities?
We don't have a charity discount in our current pricing platform at the moment. No, we don't.
Okay. Someone is just looking for clarification, wondering if payments can be generated, say, in the likes of evenings.
Yeah, so the solution is 24/7, and the 90-second SLA that we provide is offered 24/7. So you don't need to worry about any traditional bank working hours. Those payments can be remitted at any time, day or night, and received into the beneficiary account within 90 seconds of that point.
Great. Will the list in Modulr be the same order as BrightPay? So I think that was how the employees were arranged in BrightPay, whether it'll be the same in Modulr.
We have different ways of filtering and ordering them within the portal. So yes, we can replicate the way in which they have been submitted from BrightPay, or you could reorder them as per our different filtering options.
Great. The next question here, does Modulr pick up or notify when a payee's bank details have changed?
So we do have functionality available within the portal that you can switch on that enables what we call beneficiary approval. So if you add a new beneficiary or you change the beneficiary details, then you can add an approval step into the portal for that, but that is optional.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say as well that the API with Modulr, the API that Modulr provides is quite feature rich, and there's some features of that we haven't actually plugged into yet. I'm aware that one of those might be to be able to confirm that an employee's bank account does actually exist. So when you set it up in BrightPay, that we'll be able to do some sort of interaction with Modulr to ensure that account is valid. At the moment, that's not there. You obviously, as is the case with currently preparing bank files, etc., you need to ensure initially that the bank details are correct for all employees. But there is an additional functionality that Modulr provides that we can actually plug into at some stage. So it will evolve this particular API functionality, and hopefully we can improve it over time.
Great. What text appears on the employee's bank statement?
So it will show the account name that is set up on the Modulr side. So when we set up each Modulr account, it would have the name of the client, or if it's an employer, the full company name, and that would be remitted on each payment.
Great. What is the maximum employees you can pay in one batch?
I might need to defer to BrightPay as to what has been submitted on that, but I don't believe we have a limitation. I can check that though and get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any limit on that myself.
Okay, perfect. Is the balance of the client account a real-time bank value, or is it a separate pot of money held by Modulr?
It's a separate pot of money held by Modulr. So we're regulated as an e-money institution. And that means that all funds are ring-fenced. So we protect all customer funds in a ring-fenced account. So you would maintain that pot almost like as a prepaid account, if you like. And as I say, that can be topped up 24/7. And we do have lots of clients that choose to do that by standing order if it's a regular amount that they're always topping up, just to make that an easier process. But you do have full flexibility to send funds and send funds back to your bank account at any time.
I think it's fair to say, Tom, as well, that I suppose the way some people will use this is they'll do the instruction from BrightPay in relation to the employee payments, but then within Modulr, if there are insufficient funds, it can be set up within Modulr that whoever is in charge of making sure the account in Modulr is properly funded receives an email notification before the payments are due to be made, so that they'll get the opportunity to fund that account in time for the payments. And I suppose that's the way some people will use it. I know from my own point of view, I'll probably just make sure there's a rolling balance there at all times, so they don't have to be concerned with doing the transfer on the day itself.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. So when I was going through the demo, I showed you that the first screen that you're presented with in the portal shows you the balance of your Modulr account. But we can also set up various notifications for users if the balance falls below a certain amount. For example, it will automatically generate a warning notification to the person that you define for that, so that they can proactively ensure that funds are available.
Great. The next question here is, can the same person who enters the payroll make the authorization?
Yes, if that, as part of, we have an administrator function, and the administrator function can assign role profiles, and there are profiles that will enable that if that's the way you want it to be set up, or you can have them as separate roles.
Great.
Just one thing I wanted to add there as well, because I know myself using it, particularly during our penny testing phase, one thing I was curious about was, when you create the account within Modulr itself, it is a proper bank account that has a sort code and account number. So it's, it's just a regular transfer that you're doing from your main high street bank into Modulr's account using that particular sort code and account number that's generated in the Modulr portal.
Great. There's a few questions coming in here on the smartphone app. So can approvals currently be done without a smartphone or on a PC? And another question, which is very similar as well, is what if your client does not have a smartphone? What happens then?
So I believe that there is a desktop version of the process, but I'll obtain further details of that and we can share them after the event.
Great. And someone's looking for confirmation. Is it Twilio Authy when you're downloading the app?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I'm just going to check. Let's have a look. Yes, it is. Yes.
Brilliant. Can you please confirm how many people are making the approvals using Authy? Do I do it when I have prepared the payroll for my client and then the client does his or her own approval, or does my client do all of it?
So in that case, you would, when you're doing the payroll and submitting the payments, so that the part that Rachel did in the demonstration, there's an authentication process there because you're submitting the payments into the platform. And then if you decide that the client needs to do the approval as well, then they will also do an authentication to prove that they are who they say they are when they log in. But if part of your process is that you don't, the client doesn't want to do the approval and is happy for that to be done by the accountant or bureau, then they can delegate that to the accountant and bureau, and then the accountant and bureau would do the authentication of the approval. So there's two options available depending on what model you've agreed with your client.
Brilliant. As well as choosing the date of the payment, can you choose the time?
No, it's a date, and the reason for that is that we hold all payments that are due on a particular date, and then we will submit them in a batch process. So if you were happy for that to happen, that would normally happen sort of in the early hours of the due date morning. If you wanted a payment to happen at a particular time, then we would recommend that you do that as an ad hoc payment, as an instant payment on the day it's due, because you'll be in full control of when that happens, because it will happen within 90 seconds of you submitting it.
Okay, and there's a few questions asking, can you cancel pending payments?
Yes, so in the process, you have the ability to approve or decline each individual payment that is submitted into the modular platform. So for example, if 10 payments were submitted in and you were only happy to approve 5 of them, you just approve the 5 and you decline the other 5, and then they would be cancelled and wouldn't be made.
Great.
Hey, Rachel, can I just say, I just see some questions there relating to pricing as well. I think there's probably some confusion. And just one of them that stands out to me here is the question raised as an employer with 150 employees. I think they're assuming the cost would be £300 plus the transaction charge per transaction per month, which would be very expensive. So it's just a single employer with 150 employees. It's £10 is the minimum charge, which covers up to 40 transactions. And then the remaining 110 transactions will be charged at 25p per transaction. So I think in that particular case, it works out as £37 per month. I think the assumption here was somebody thought that was going to be over £300 per month. So, it's actually very, very competitive pricing there. And also somebody with, 40 employees, they would just pay the £10 per month. There wouldn't be an additional transaction charge on top of that.
No, exactly. I'll just bring back up the pricing model for anybody that's got any confusion around this. So yeah, if you work on the basis that all the pricing is transaction based, so what we're saying here is it's 25 pence per transaction, subject to a monthly minimum. So that £10, for example, includes 40 transactions, and then every transaction above that is 25 pence. So you're effectively only paying for the transaction value that you use, subject to those minimums.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of confusion on that, I think.
Brilliant. Yeah, there is some questions coming in about that there. Also in relation to the pricing as well, it's what counts as a transaction. Would a payroll of 50 employees be 50 transactions or 1 transaction?
That would be 50 transactions. So a transaction is a payment that is made to a sort code and account number that has actually been processed. So if we were talking earlier about declining transactions, if you wanted to cancel them, they would not be charged. It's only once they're approved, the date's been met, and they're funded, and we've actually remitted them into the network.
Okay.
So to answer the question, with the 50, it would be 50 transactions there for 50 employees.
And there's a few seasonal businesses here. They're just saying, we're a seasonal business, so we only need to pay staff during the summer. Can we pause the monthly fee if we're not using the account?
That's an interesting one. I've not had that question before, but yes, it makes sense if that's something that the way that they operate, then yeah, we could work something out. We just need to capture that information at the outset during the application process.
There's no particular contract term in this, Tom, is there?
No, so the way there's no lengthy commitment. It's actually just 1 month termination, so that would solve for that. But what I wouldn't want you to do is to have to close your account and then reopen it each season. So just on the back of that, I'll have a think about how we administer that for you. But I think it's a good point, and we will do something that works for that.
Yeah, probably the only pain in this whole process is the actual setting up the account and doing the AML stuff, like submitting copies of your passport and utility bill or whatever. But I suppose everybody's used to that at this stage.
Yeah, so we would just, for those seasonal businesses, we would just do that once at the outset, and then we'd work on a way of pausing it for you. So yeah, anybody that has got that requirement, when you're setting yourself up, just you can speak with one of my sales team and we'll sort that out for you.
Great. And Paul, you mentioned the setup process there, and I do see one question here is, how long does the process take to set up?
So it's a simple sort of online form completion, and as long as all the detail is completed comprehensively, in terms of all the questions are answered, any sort of copies of passports, etc., are uploaded as per the instructions, then we can have the account set up in as short a period as the same day. If the form hasn't been completed fully, then there may be a requirement for our compliance team to contact the applicant to request additional information, and therefore it's as quick as those interactions can take place. But once we have all the information, then we aim to do it same day.
Great. There is a few more questions here as well on the pricing. If I have 10 clients, but only one wants to use Modulr, do I just pay the £5 per month for the client that wants to use it, or am I billed £5 per month for every client?
So you will only be billed for clients that are set up on the Modular platform. So in that example, you would just be paying for the one client.
Great. How far in advance does the upfront payment for payroll payments need to be with Modulr, and what financial protection is there for Modulr having those funds?
So how far in advance? You can do it right up until the payment is due. So I could submit some payments now, and that payment would be remitted once approved within 90 seconds. But I can future date the payments if I choose to do it. So I can future date them for a week or a month or whatever date you need to do that. In terms of the protection of funds, so we are regulated by the FCA as an e-money institution, which means that all client funds are ring-fenced. So we maintain separate accounts with 100% of their funds maintained within there, and we also provide an additional 2% of any client funds held in case there was any problems on top of that ourselves. So they're fully protected.
I think the other thing to say there, Tom, as well, just in case there's some confusion on it, if you do a future dated pay run, say for at the end of the month at this stage, you don't actually have to ensure that the account within Modulr is funded until the actual payments are due out. So it's not a case that you have to, fund in advance, by the 2 weeks or whatever. You only have to make sure the funds are there for when the actual payments are due out.
Yeah, no, thanks for clarifying that point, Paul. Yeah, so you can submit everything in advance and then just be in control of when you submit the payment. So you can do that in a just-in-time process. As soon as the funds are received and there's payments due out, then that would automatically trigger those future dated payments.
Great. I know we have covered it already, but there is quite a few questions coming in on how do you add funds to the Modulr account?
So that's quite a simple process. So that once the Modulr account has been opened, you are provided with access to the portal, which shows you the account number and sort code. So the Modulr account just looks like any traditional bank account details that you would already have. So it's just a case of making either a faster payment, a BACS, or a CHAPS payment from any UK bank into the account number and sort code that you're provided with, and each account details are unique to that client.
Great.
I just see one question there, right? Sorry, Rachel. I know I'm cutting across you, but I just see one question there. When will this be made live within BrightPay? It is already live. Just to confirm that.
Perfect.
And just to say as well, the other methods of payment, i.e. bank files and BACS and all that sort of thing, that's still available as an option for users. It's not as if this replaces those. So, people can choose, but I genuinely think that this is a much more efficient and easy way of actually doing the payments.
Great, thanks, Paul. What if there are not sufficient funds in the bank account or the account is in overdraft? Can the payment still go through?
So the Modulr account would never go into overdraft. So we're not a credit provider under the regulation. So it would always be maintained in a positive balance. What would happen is that the payments would sit within the pending area in the portal as awaiting funds. So even though you've approved it and the due date has come along, if there aren't sufficient funds for the payment to make, then payments will just be held until those funds are received. Then if you then subsequently add the funds to the account, then any payments that are due to be made would automatically then start to flow.
Say, Rachel, I just cut across you again, because again, I see another theme that is close to my own heart here, because I've made this mistake in the past where I've submitted a bank file, even though the payment wasn't due until the following day. I'd made a mistake in that an employee who was in that file wasn't meant to be paid, but I couldn't actually recall it. I couldn't reverse it. So the payment actually had to go through, even though it was due the following day. They couldn't recall it. With Modulr, you can cancel a pending payment. So, if the payment is due out and you've approved it, it's still pending as a future dated transaction, you can cancel that. If you've approved it, but it's due to be paid there and then, well, it's going to be paid within the 90 seconds anyway, so there wasn't any option to withdraw in that case. But just to confirm that, future pending payments that have been approved can be cancelled. Am I right in saying that, Tom?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly correct. So everything can be cancelled right up until the payment has been made. So if you are doing them future dated, then even after you've approved it, you can log back in and unapprove the transaction if something's changed.
And just one other thing I see there as well, because again, when I was using the Authy, I was wondering this myself, but I was able to do it. You can actually specify other approvers on the account or other people to post payments to the account, so they have the Authy on their own phone in relation to the approvals or the transfers that they make. It's not as if this is the one phone that gets linked to this account and that's all you can ever use.
Correct. Yeah. So the practice is that every user has that is doing those approvals has the Authy app themselves, because the whole point of it is to authenticate that the person that is doing the approval is actually that person, and by having access to the Authy app provides that additional authentication.
Great, thanks, Tom. Another question here: a lot of banks now verify the recipient, the recipient bank details are correct. Is there a similar function available for this?
So that is what is termed as confirmation of payee, and that is the functionality that Paul was referring to earlier. That we do have that functionality within Modulr, but it's on the development roadmap for BrightPay.
Yes.
Okay. Someone's looking for confirmation. So do I have to sit in BrightPay while waiting for the client to confirm through Authy when making the payment?
No.
No. So as an accountant or a bureau, you would have access to the payment dashboard, which would give you a top-level view of all of your clients, and you would be able to get a snapshot of clients that haven't done their approvals yet. So you would be able to work that as a workflow and click into them and see which ones haven't done that and give them a nudge if you wanted to. But you don't have to sit within the BrightPay software. Once the transactions have been remitted into the Modular Portal, then the rest of the workflow sits there.
Great.
Can I put in again there, Rachel?
Yeah,
go on. Again, this is something I was doing when I was testing it myself, where, you know, let's say you've made a mistake, you've actually transferred wrong amounts into Modulr from the payroll, or you maybe forgot to give somebody overtime or whatever. And what's the process then for correcting that? I think there are a number of ways. I suppose the most simple way would probably be to go into the Modulr dashboard and just cancel the payments that have been, you know, already transferred in, to make the correction within the payroll and do the batch again. It could be as simple as that. That's what I did in my own testing.
Great, thanks, Paul. Sorry, just trying to read through some of the questions here. Can US companies that employ UK workers use this facility?
So we need to, when we're onboarding the customer, we do all our checks against UK companies house. So there would need to be a UK registered entity that we set up the account in the name of, and funds need to be remitted into the Modulr account from the UK domestic banking system at present. So we can only accept sterling into these particular accounts, sterling payments. So you would need to make sure that you also had a UK bank account to do that.
Okay, great. Someone is asking if the Modulr support is online customer support or telephone.
It's telephone and email based. So we have our customer support team based in Edinburgh. So you can speak to somebody or you can email us.
Great. Will this be coming to the BrightPay Mac version in 21-22, or should we consider this not an option?
Sorry,
I'm not
wait,
sure.
repeat that question again?
Will this be coming to the BrightPay Mac version in 21-22, or should we consider this not an option?
It's on the roadmap. We kind of want to gauge the demand for, I suppose, within the Windows version, but it looks like there's probably going to be good demand. So you know, it will be something we'll add to the Mac version based on, you know, how we find it in the Windows version.
Right. There's a question I saw here. Sorry, just trying to find it again. Can you change easily from an employer account to a bureau account?
So the way the structure works is that as a bureau, you actually open individual accounts for each of your clients. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, what we're saying here is that an account could be set up for the employer, but then they start to use a bureau, in which case all we would need to do is link that existing employer account to the bureau, and then the bureau would have access to that employer's account and submit payments on their behalf. I'm hoping that's the right interpretation of the question.
Okay, thanks Tom. Paul, this one I think is for you. So do we put the bank details into BrightPay in the normal way we do for bank files?
Yes, you do, yeah.
Okay. When you said it's 24/7 payments, then holiday banking times do not apply. Sometimes I need to pay employees 2 days earlier to cover weekends. So they're just looking for clarification on that.
Yeah, so we every day is a working day at Modulr. So yes, it doesn't make any difference whether it's a weekend or a bank holiday. We can submit payments and they'll be received within 90 seconds.
Great. Sorry, there's just a lot of repeat questions coming in here. Can administrators have full rights in managing the Modulr account, i.e. the business owner may not want to be involved in the processing?
Yes, so the administrator would be a responsible person within that business that is able to assign different role profiles to individual users. So yeah, it wouldn't need to necessarily be the owner as one of those users. Okay. We do capture at the onboarding process, though, we are capturing details around the owner as part of the identification process. So at that point, they would be acknowledging that the account is being opened. So just that's the reasons that you can't just open an account without the owners knowing about it, for example.
Great. What reports are available? Are they traditional style bank statements?
Yeah, so you can download transactional data from the portal that would effectively reflect similar data than what you would see in a traditional bank account.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of repeat questions coming in here. Paul, do you see any other ones that you want to take there, or we can finish up? I know we are hitting the 12 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I think it's more or less covered. I know from my own point of view, that having been an accountant in practice in the past, the way I'd probably do it is I'd make the client actually approve the final payment. It just gives a bit more security for the accountant. You know, it's the final sign off, I think, would be on the part of the client. Although some clients may prefer the accountant to do everything. I know I probably wouldn't be too comfortable with that myself. But it's very flexible, because within the Modulr portal, you can set up all sorts of email alerts or approvals or different types of users or whatever. So I think it's, as I say, you know, I think about if I was doing it, at the end of the day, it would be the client who does the final sign off. So when you process the payroll, you just submit everything into Modulr. The client will get a notification that the funds are required to be transferred in to make those payments. They'll do that, and then they'll do the sign off in terms of the payments themselves. It's still a lot easier than the bank file system, or even the back system, which is more expensive and has that 3-day delay, unfortunately, on it.
Great, thanks Paul for that. So yeah, as I said, we're going to wrap it up there. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to send us an email and we will be glad to help. And as I said, we will send out the follow-up email later today with a link to the recording of the webinar and a link to the slides as well. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, and a massive thank you to Tom as well for joining us for the webinar, and we hope you found it useful. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye. Bye.